In 1066, Saxon England was under attack. An invasion force under William, Duke of Normandy, had landed at Pevensey Bay on the south coast. William wanted to seize the throne and overthrow England's new king, Harold Godwinson. Harold, who'd just beaten Viking invaders in the north, marched his tired foot soldiers south to face the Norman threat. The two armies met near Hastings. The Anglo-Saxon chronicles record what happened next.
William took King Harold by surprise, before his men were ready. Even so, Harold fought bravely from dawn to dusk, until, after a great slaughter on both sides, the king fell.
With his rival dead, William became King of England. But was he a good king? This old black and white film is pretty clear about which side it supports. That's Harold, clean shaven, nice girlfriend, goes to church, definitely the good guy. That's William, dark moustache, bit of a drinker, waving his sword around, obviously a baddie.
But that's just one view of William's reputation. Not everyone agrees with it. As with many things in history,
it's a question of interpretation.
These men and women are members of Regia Anglorum, a living history society. They spend their weekends giving displays, showing people what English life was like 1,000 years ago.
The idea behind it is to give a taste or feel of what it's like or would have been like to live during that period. So we show living history, which is how people actually lived, ate, produced items and that kind of thing.
But what's really on display here is one interpretation of the past, one reading of the past. When they reenact battle scenes, they deliberately cast the Normans as the baddies.
Who here likes the Norman tax gatherer?
Hardly surprising the crowds cheer the Saxons.
I've had a tomato thrown at me by the crowd on one occasion. It missed, but I think the crowd were just getting into it at that point. They quite liked the idea of this nasty Norman.
Was that how it was? William and the Normans the baddies? Harold and the Saxons the goodies?
To answer that question, you have to work out why the Normans invaded at all. Was this just a hostile invasion? Or was the crown rightfully William's?
This is Exhibit A, the Bayeux Tapestry, made for William's half-brother Odo. It's a kind of comic strip, telling the story from the Norman point of view. In the first scene, Edward the Confessor, the old king, is shown sending Harold to Normandy to tell Duke William that William is to be the next king. And here's Harold, swearing to support William's claim to the throne. But then Harold breaks his word. When Edward dies, Harold takes the crown, and William finds out. And the rest is history.
So according to the Normans, Harold stole the crown from William. But Exhibit B tells the story in quite another way. This is an account by an English monk, Eadmer, living under Norman rule 50 years after the conquest. In this version, Harold still goes to Normandy, but the reason for the trip is quite different.
In 1064, Harold went to Normandy to free his nephew who was being held hostage by William. But William said to him, "I will only let you have your nephew back if you agree I will be the next king." Harold could not see any way to escape without agreeing to all that William wanted. So he agreed.
So, according to the Saxons, William had no right to the English throne. His invasion was just that, a hostile takeover by an aggressive foreign army.
And it gets worse. You read the account in the chronicles of how the Normans ruled England. It's cruel stuff. Like in 1069, 3 years after Hastings, he marched north to crush an uprising there. This is how a Norman monk, or Derek Vitalis, described William's campaign.
He cut down many in his vengeance. He harried the land and burned homes to ashes. In his anger, he ordered that all crops, herds, and food of every kind should be brought together and burned to ashes, so that the whole region might be stripped of all food. Such a terrible famine fell upon the humble and defenceless people that more than 100,000 people perished of hunger.
And that's how a Norman remembers it. What must the Saxons have thought? But is that all the Normans brought to England? A reign of terror? Not according to Regia Anglorum. In their displays, they like to show another, more peaceful interpretation of Norman life.
We try to show the Normans as they were, try and divorce them from, if you like, the bad press they've received. So what we try and do is show the kits, how they dressed, architecture, system of taxation, that kind of thing.
Evidence of Norman culture and civilization still peppers the landscape of England and Wales. The castles they built, the cathedrals, and above all, hundreds of parish churches. Even some Saxon writers, like the monk William of Malmesbury, praised William's impact on the English church.
The Normans revived the rule of religion, which had everywhere grown lifeless in England. You might see churches rise in every village, and monasteries in the towns and cities, built after a style unknown before. The country flourishes with renovated rites.
And William's achievements as king went beyond reviving the nation's churches. Once the pain of invasion was over, his Norman style of rule brought a new consistency to the way the country was governed. The key was information.
The king sent his men all over England, into every county, to find out how much land there was and how much tax should be paid from each county. This was done so carefully that there was not a single ox, cow, or pig left out.
Which brings us to Exhibit C, the Domesday Book. The Domesday Book told William exactly how much money and property there was in the kingdom. It told them who owned what and who lived where. With that kind of information at his fingertips, William was able to run the country in a much more organised and consistent way.
He was efficient, fair to a degree, but also you didn't want to cross him.
So, William, a wise ruler who governed England well?
Or a ruthless tyrant who stole the crown of England?
It's all a question of interpretation.